Dirt Trax is sponsored by Can-Am, the ride says it all. Polaris, the ultimate in off-road vehicles. Hatfield-McCoy Trails, where hundreds of miles of off-road adventure await you today. Yamaha ATVs and side-by-side vehicles, real-world tough. And by Honda. Check out the growing family of Honda ATVs and side-by-sides.
It's been a great season here at Dirt Trax. We've traveled to a lot of very unique places, ridden a ton of cool product, and had the opportunity to hang out with very cool people, not the least of which is NASCAR driver Greg Biffle. When we first set out to follow the build process of our very own Z1100 Turbo from PACE Offroad, we weren't sure how much FaceTime we'd get with Greg along the way, seeing as he's a NASCAR icon. From the first conference call to the final ride, Greg was right there with us, showing that PACE Offroad is not just a hobby, it's a passion. With help from our incredible friends at Arctic Cat, we were able to get our hands on a brand new Wildcat 1000, along with a brand new Z1100 Turbo motor. This was the start of something incredible. The professionalism of the build at PACE is first class. The stock bodywork, roll cage, suspension, interior, and all associated drivetrain are carefully removed and organized. The stock motor is lifted out, and once the vehicle is down to nothing more than the chassis, it's set onto a chassis jig, cut and re-welded to accept the new Z1100 motor. Following the rear clip alterations, the chassis is sent out to the same powder coating shop used by many of the top NASCAR race teams. The quality of the welding as well as the powder coating on just the chassis alone makes this vehicle look like it came off of a high-end production line. While the Z1100 Turbo on its own would be cool to drop in there, it's a lot of behind-the-scenes work that truly makes this a custom build, and not just another backyard motor swap. The in-house, hand-built wiring harness would be one of the biggest differences in a PACE Z1100. This is built with mil-spec wire, uses all factory plug-and-play connections, and is not split loom, but fully heat shrink to ensure a long life and proper electrical power to the right places. Along with the harness, PACE will custom wire any number of unique accessories into upfitter switches. For our build, that includes a large clutch blower, a huge Rigid Industries light bar, lower Rigid Industries rock lights, LED whip lights, and a few extra spaces for extras in the future. We also opted for the full-size second battery tray to help keep all those accessories working. While this vehicle was 100% built by PACE, we had the help of many sponsors along the way, providing very unique and cool accessories that would make this truly custom. UTV Inc. donated the sweet heavy-duty roll cage that will keep us safe as well as stylish. They also hooked us up with the beautiful doors that fit perfectly and gave the Wildcat that buggy look. STM was able to hook us up with billet primary and secondary clutches able to handle huge power, as are the Turner Eagle axles. Fox Shocks was also able to supply us with a beautiful factory series set of Kashima-coated podium piggyback shocks to keep us riding hard and landing soft. Finishing it off was a set of color-matched LED whip lights from Quick Lights. At the end of the build, we were still waiting to install a few last-minute pieces. From PRP, the custom color-matched SE suspension seats as well as the 4-point harnesses. From Wolf Design, a full vehicle custom graphics wrap. And from ITP, special wheels and tires. All that was left to do was get out and ride. The finished product was incredible. The graphics wrap made a serious statement. The seats matched the chassis and the wrap. Overall, the entire package was awesome. This is not just an accessorized Wildcat. This is a PACE Offroad built Z1100 Turbo that pushes out nearly 30 pounds of boost and almost 300 horsepower. Greg's passion for side-by-sides is evident in a finished product like this, but I had to ask him where all of this love for the sand had come from.
You know, I really love the sand. I started riding in the sand a little bit growing up as a teenager. Just really loved it and enjoyed it. And then came to Glamis a few times, saw the big sand cars and always wanted one, and it took me a while. But once I got a sand car and I had Banshees, it's just, that's the kind of riding I love to do. And I don't think the sand will ever get old for me as far as what I enjoy to come out here and do and ride in it. And I have so much fun on all different vehicles. You know, I can ride the Banshee still, and I love the side-by-sides now. And you know, last 2 trips, I haven't even got my sand car out of the building and drove it. So these side-by-sides have taken over so much.
Getting out and actually driving the Z1100 Turbo Wildcat was the #1 thing on my mind. With Greg's knowledge of Glamis, as well as his ability to drive the wheels off anything with a steering wheel or handlebars, I knew that I was in for some fun.
You know, the riding is a lot different no matter what vehicle you're on. So from riding my dirt bike to the Banshee, to the side-by-side and sand car even, you know, the side-by-sides before, you know, a few years ago, they could only go in the little stuff, couldn't make it up. I remember when the side-by-sides couldn't even get up the hills. You know, you had to take a certain way to get to where you're going, and now the side-by-sides dune with the sand cars, you know, the big bowls, the small, there's so much medium, what I call medium size. Not any fun in a sand car because it's not fast enough and too tight of turns and technical, but in the side-by-side you can have so much fun, and there's so much of that size dunes even all across the US. That's why the side-by-side is kind of taken over, because it fits that, and you can still go in the big bowls and the big hills because they have the power now to be able to get up them.
It was clear to me very quickly that this is what Greg had created the Z1100 Turbo swaps for. This is the most fun I have ever had in the sand.
Dirt Trax is sponsored by Brimstone, where the journey is your reward.
I got one of the very first Wildcats when they came out. I loved the suspension on it. The suspension was great, but clearly I recognized right away, it just simply needs more power to be able to do what you want. You get down in the flats and some of that, it'll go fast enough to have a lot of fun. But the minute you start getting into the hills or some of the bowls, it just didn't have the power to really transition the way it needs to. And so instantly I went back and went on the mission to put power in these things and did a lot of research, and you know, came to the conclusion of the Z1 engine is really the engine of choice. I cannot tell you how happy I am with that engine, the way it fits in the vehicle, the way it fits in all, you know, we've done other brand vehicles with that engine. It works so well and it's so reliable. To date, we have about 30 builds, 25 builds, not one issue yet with any of the builds as far as the engine.
I was blown away with the durability of the driveline in these vehicles. I mean, we were not going easy on these things, and there wasn't even a hint of anything that was gonna show us a failure.
You know, people's reaction when they get out of a stock side-by-side and get into one of our PACE Offroad vehicles, side-by-sides, is they really can't believe the experience they're having. You know, it just totally changes it from the suspension we do to the engine, to the powertrain, the drivability. You know, the 3-position boost control switch to choose what power level you want on the fly. It really just changes the experience altogether. And I haven't been in a stock side-by-side in a long time. Yesterday, I got back in a stock one, and I still don't believe how different they are when I jump in a stock one. I kind of take it for granted because all I have is Z1 cars. And you have to drive it differently, a stock one, because you have to be thinking about, you know, you got to think further ahead. How am I going to get up this hill? And you don't want to get slow at the bottom of a big transition because you're going to get stuck. It's not going to make it up it. So you get spoiled with a Z1 car and the power's so smooth and linear. I think that's how you forget how much power it has and how well it dunes. It kind of takes away that feel of, oh, this has got a bunch of power, till you get in a stock one, and then you really feel the difference.
This sport is important to Greg, and with nearly 30 builds already complete, he's had the opportunity to see his vehicles being used out in the dunes for the purposes they were designed for.
The thing I enjoy the most about doing the swap, it's a hobby business. You know, not going to become rich off of doing these engine swaps and these Z1 cars and all these side-by-sides. But the thing that I love the most about it is to see the smile on the customer's face. When we stopped and, you know, you get out of the car after the 20 minutes of running and you talk to the guy, and the guy's glowing. You know, he has so much fun and loves it. The other thing is the reliability factor of our cars. We work tirelessly, and my guys do, on our cars being 100%. You know, we want to build the F1, the Bugatti, you know, of side-by-sides. We don't want the guy to have to work on it. And that's what we really pride ourselves in, is the reliability of the vehicle. Because everybody knows when you put something high performance together, you're going to be working on it. And that's the one thing that I want to infuse into my guys. And when we turn out a vehicle, we push it out of the door, is that that guy can get in it, start it, pull it in gear, and ride it day after day and not have to work on it. Check the oil, put gas in it, and have fun. And that's what we've been able to do with the vehicles. It's cost a lot of money, a lot of engineering time, but that's what makes me the happiest, is when a guy calls me up and had a 4-day weekend and the stock car broke a belt. This guy had this problem, that guy had that problem. And he's got the high performance car and never touched it. Put it in the trailer and he's ready to go for the next time. So that's what makes me feel good when I see customers smile on their face after they get to drive their car, unveil it, first couple rides.
At the end of the day, I realize even more why I love this sport. It's not just because I get to go out and drive 300 horsepower side-by-sides. It's because I get to hang out with people like Greg Biffle, who are not just passionate about this sport, but they're passionately pushing the bounds of what we all thought was possible.
Dirt Trax is sponsored by Super ATV, the industry leader in aftermarket parts and accessories for the off-road market.
There's a number of very good reasons an ATV manufacturer may choose to leave one of their products largely unchanged for a number of years. It could be that that product already sells really well and doesn't need to be updated. Or maybe it's prioritized R&D funding, or it could even be a temporary shift in focus to another one of their products. And this was the limbo Arctic Cat was stuck in for a number of years. Their ATV lineup remained unchanged year after year, and their side-by-side lineup had more holes in it than Swiss cheese. But it's only a matter of time before a company in this position gets things sorted out behind the scenes and begins to realize their full potential. And that's exactly where Arctic Cat is headed now. Our first glimpse into their exciting new future in the off-road business was the release of the Wildcat a few seasons ago. While it was a bit underpowered, it took side-by-side suspension to a new level of awesome. The very next year, we were pleasantly surprised by the Wildcat X, which was a swift and decisive response to consumer demand for a more powerful and more competitive Wildcat. That same season, Arctic Cat showed how hard they've been studying the side-by-side industry by releasing a 4-seat Wildcat and the first true competition for the hugely popular 50-inch Polaris RZR. The Wildcat Trail was anything but a shot in the dark. From our very first ride aboard that vehicle, it was very clear Arctic Cat had taken the concept of a 50-inch sport side-by-side that had already been proven by Polaris to a whole nother level. Addressing nearly every complaint consumers had with the original RZR, the Wildcat Trail was a huge success. But it and the full-size Wildcat were just the tip of the iceberg Arctic was uncovering for 2015. The side-by-side industry is growing in double digits year after year. Ignoring any one of its categories would be like throwing money directly in the toilet. People are buying side-by-sides in every class in staggering numbers, and finally, Arctic Cat has got an option for nearly every one of them. A complete revamp of the rapidly aging Prowler platform gave Arctic Cat utility customers something to talk about, and a 60-inch Wildcat Sport sealed up the remaining hole in their sport side-by-side lineup. New technology like cool LED lighting and ultra high-end shock packages add even more sizzle to an already very appealing steak. While the side-by-side market definitely gets the majority of the media's attention these days, it's not because ATV sales are down. ATV sales are actually remaining very stable, and if there was one product in Arctic Cat's lineup that had been getting long in the tooth, it was definitely their ATV line. But their 2015 ATV line has seen one of the single largest revamps in the industry's history. Nearly every model is completely new, and not just new in appearance, new from the ground up. The XR chassis has a lower center of gravity, far more plush suspension, and improved rider ergonomics. All of this adds up to not just a drastically different riding experience, but a way better riding experience as well. Other features like a more stylish and durable speed rack system, ultra-cool LED lighting, and an increased number of models with a power steering option give Arctic Cat ATV customers more functionality and, of course, more bling to brag about. Because we also deal with Arctic Cat on our winter show, Trax TV, we have seen just how extensive their drive and determination is to build the best off-road vehicles possible. The snow side has seen a complete revamp as well, with not just a new chassis, but new motors and lots of new technology. When you take a step back and look at how Arctic Cat has changed over the past 5 years, it becomes very clear. Everyone involved is committed to building vehicles that are not just competitive, but also innovative and class-leading. We think it would be a very smart idea for the rest of the off-road industry to keep a keen eye on the crew from Thief River Falls, Minnesota. And we think it would be a great idea for consumers to take a serious look at what Arctic Cat has to offer in 2015.
Dirt Trax is sponsored by Triton Trailers. Know it, own it, haul it, and by Seismic UTV Accessories. Get more done, have more fun.
The 500 class is the backbone of the ATV industry. More units are sold in this segment than any other, which would explain why there are more 500 class models to choose from. With competition so fierce, manufacturers scramble year after year to innovate and improve their 500 class models in hopes of capturing buyers' attention. Now I say most because for many years, Honda's Foreman has remained largely unchanged. There's no question this model was growing long in the tooth, and it's clear consumers were noticing. They were literally begging for something new that has all the features competitive riders enjoy. For 2015, Honda riders are finally getting what they've been waiting for with an all-new from the ground up Foreman Rubicon model that has all the features they want. Well, pretty much all. It only took one quick glance at the Rubicon to know this is a completely different vehicle. Gone are the soft, rounded fenders and droopy-looking headlight pod. The new plastic is aggressive and angular. The new headlight pod is mean-looking. Black aluminum wheels are trick, and the overall visual appearance is, in a word, tough. Sure, looks aren't everything, but the simple fact of the matter is that nobody wants to ride a sad-looking ATV, and the Foreman Rubicon is anything but sad-looking. Truth? We love it. The biggest news for this model is definitely the all-new, fully independent rear suspension. IRS is what buyers are demanding in all classes, but the 500 class is ripe with plush riding, long travel choices, and the new Rubicon fits right in. 8.5 inches of rear end travel is damped by a set of basic steel-bodied shocks with 5-position preload adjusters. This basic shock package rides very decent. It soaks up medium hits no problem, but it's a little stiff on the small and yet still bottoms on the big stuff. We totally get basic shock packages on base models, but the Rubicon we have here is a deluxe model, and we think Honda would do well to include a more impressive set of shocks. A double arm setup up front yields a decent 7.2 inches of travel and is damped by a similar set of shocks as to what's found in the back. Again, this setup rides well, but it's still a little stiff on the small stuff and could use a little bit more compression damping for big hits. Honda has never followed the crowd when it came to ATV transmission technology. They've resisted the move to a CVT in favor of their electronic manual shift system and even offer a fully manual foot shift model. We have some thoughts about this. First, there is most definitely a market for a manual shift option in the 500 class. There's a surprising number of people who both need it and prefer it, so we think Honda should continue to build it. Second, we know Honda uses their dual clutch electronically shifted manual transmission in a number of other product lines, and for what it is, it works excellent. Better than any similar offering. But finally, there's a very good reason the rest of the industry has embraced CVT technology. DCT works fine in automatic mode if you're just cruising down the trail nice and easy. It actually does a decent job of selecting an appropriate gear. But when you're traversing technical terrain or trying to ride more aggressively, the DCT programming simply can't keep up. We find ourselves driving the Rubicon in manual shift mode most often, which begs the question, why not just use a CVT? A few of the features we've really come to appreciate on this new Rubicon model is the 4x4 selector system in the right-hand switch cluster that includes diff lock, the dual mode transmission that comes standard on DCT models, and the all-new reverse actuation system that's built into the left-hand brake lever and allows for one-hand selection of reverse gear. We've spent a considerable amount of time on our DCT-equipped deluxe model Rubicon and have come away very impressed with it. Its ride is vastly improved over any past IRS-equipped Honda. Its 500mm generates more than enough power and torque. It's super comfortable to sit on, EPS keeps steering light, and handling is stable. There's no question Honda makes some of the highest quality, most dependable ATVs in the industry, but historically, their Foreman has not been very competitive in the 500 class. It's always seemed better suited to a dependable life on the farm than a fun day on the trail. But for 2015, Honda has jumped into the 500 class pool with both feet. This new Rubicon is still as trustworthy, functional, and durable as its predecessor, but now it's also an excellent choice for a recreational 500 class rider.
Dirt Trax Television has been sponsored by Polaris, the ultimate in off-road vehicles. Can-Am, the ride says it all. MBRP Performance Exhaust, making power with MBRP. Arctic Cat, share our passion. And by Honda. Check out the growing family of Honda ATVs and side-by-sides.
If you enjoyed this video, post a comment and let us know what you think. Then, click this link to subscribe and that link for more great videos from Dirt Trax TV.